Welcome back to another battle report, folks, and to the last one in our series of Kursk games. This is the second game where the Soviets are on the offensive. So let's have a look at the Soviet list first, because in this game we're going to bring all the heavies, so to speak. What we've got is 3 Su-122 assault guns, 2 Su-152 assault guns, and 3 KV flame tanks. They are supporting this formation here. This is a Hero Rifle company, motor rifle company. 2 platoons of 10, company command, and 3 120 mortars. Now this is very, very different from the list that we've been using for the Soviets so far. For instance, there's no T-34s, as you can see, there's no proper tanks. I'm not exactly holding out a lot of hope for it, but who knows. These guys might be useful, but I get the feeling they've only got front armour 5 or 7 for the SUs, so they're very vulnerable. So I've not got a great deal of hope. So they are going to be attacking against this formation. So if you saw the last game where the Germans were defending, we used the same table, we're just going to do a different mission. There was lots of really good anti-tank, but it was maybe a bit out of balance. So to fix things, what we've done is Brian has added a heavy machine gun platoon. That may have helped push back assaults in the last game. He's reduced the Pak 40s to Pak 38s. He's reduced the size of the tank platoon. It's 2 Panzer IIIs and 1 Panzer IV. Added in an armoured car platoon and Nebelwerfers to support the mortars. So this here is all core and this here is support. So it's probably a bit of a better balanced force, and quite good for the mission we're about to play, because we're going to play rearguard, like the old strategic withdrawal mission, but it's been changed quite a bit from version 3, where objectives were getting removed as well as units, and it's got a turn limit of 9. So we'll set up, we'll go over the mission, and we'll then move on to turn 1, and the Soviets will be on the attack again. So a little reminder of rearguard. It's one of the more complex missions. You can see special rules, ambush and strategic withdrawal. And it's got minefields. And you can see the critical thing here is 9th turn. You know, so if my Soviets survive that long, that's how long the Germans will have to survive. Now, excuse me, I'm just trying to turn these pages. Find the strategic withdrawal. Okay, so starting from turn 2, if there's 6 or more platoons on the table, 1 has got to be withdrawn. That's for the defender, sorry. If they don't have 6 platoons, again a turn counter, so that turn counter gets counted as a platoon in the following turn. So if the turn counter plus the platoons equals 6, another platoon goes. So it prevents them from getting too small too quick. But from turn 2, they're going to start losing defending platoons, so it could be quite tricky. So that's the mission. This is the deployment zones. The Germans are defending this side of the table, so that line of dice up the middle there is their deployment zone. The objectives go within a 16-inch box fixed to the back of the table, and the Soviets have got a very shallow deployment zone of, hold on a minute, it gets too far forwards, of just 8 inches, which isn't much. So the objectives, I place both as the attacker, so I've decided to split the defence, one here and one here. Brian decided to close off that flank up to that church with minefield, so that's a very good solid obstacle for him. And then he's placed one ranged in marker at the back of the hill there, that's some mortars, and the Nebs over there, just trying to find good places for my artillery to hide. So I have put mine, the heavy mortar, sorry, are on the church, right in the centre of the church. I just wanted to deny him that, though maybe having him in the church would have been better for me, because now he's hiding behind it, but maybe I can get into the church without being shot. And then I have got 152s and 122s. You can see heavy machine guns, infantry platoon. Well, he's no place to company commander if that's where he wants them to go. Tank platoon. It's a nice big open flank here. You see these heavy machine guns? If I just remove this book, they've got a really good field of fire from where they are. Got mortars. The marders just waiting to see where they're going to go. Nebs at the back hiding quite nicely. Armoured car platoon, which may be the first to leave the table. And an infantry platoon over here with 3 Pak 38s in ambush. So they're going to be losing platoons, but they've got quite a lot on the table. It's going to be an interesting game, this, because there's 9 turns to play. So I've got time to try to do some damage, for instance, with my artillery, but also there's time for Brian to do some damage with his artillery. I can sit back, but I don't know if that's going to be to my advantage, especially with such a small list. But Brian also has to do as much damage as he can whilst his platoons are on the table. If he's too cautious, he may find that platoons disappear without having contributed to the fight at all. So we'll see what happens. So we'll come back. I'll find out where Brian wants these guys to go, probably over here, and then we'll come back for Soviet turn 1. Soviet turn 1. Here's a quick look. The lighting's not the best here, folks. I've had a bit of detail like this, but here is my German turn counter. You can see all the different types of German troops with some terrain to match the setting, so to speak. Now, Soviet turn 1. So infantry dashed and followed me. The guys just managed a dash. The KVs, the flame KVs, are sneaking up around the side without sticking their noses out too far because of those marders. Mortars obviously staying still, but also the assault guns stay still. So in bombardment, the IS-152s needed to re-roll hits because there's only 2 of them. And if it hadn't been for that, there'd probably be quite a lot of dead Germans. The Su-122s managed to one firepower out of 2 potential kills. So they got 1 base. And the heavy mortars managed to range in first time with a 6. Most unexpected. So they got a couple of hits but no kills, but they're pinned. We'll have to see if they unpin. And also Brian's going to have to watch for that. Still can't get used to how quick things move in this game. They're going to be on the next turn. So there you go, Flames War version 4, things move quick. So over to Brian for German turn 1. German turn 1, so first of all, no ambushes as yet. They didn't unpin. So Brian he doesn't want to pull back. He wants to keep him in the fight and move the marders up as well. So the marders can machine gun and counterfire if they get assaulted. So he's fairly comfortable, and he's done a dash and follow me with the heavy machine guns. So they're going to be in a very good position to hold the centre where my attack seems to be coming from now. We didn't try to unpin them. I'll just roll them out for Brian. There you go. Roll 2 dice because the company commander was there. They've unpinned, for what that's worth. These have moved up. They want to take the fight to the assault guns, because the assault guns could be quite nasty, continually dropping a bombardment down on them. So as far as shooting goes, there wasn't very much. These guys managed a couple of shots and got 1 hit, but it saved on them. The mortars didn't unpin, as I said. The Nebs did, and Brian could... His company commander, unfortunately, is not in the best position. This can happen sometimes when you're playing distance, and I said you want to move him because he can't really see anything, but he thought he was happy for him over there just now to get these guys unpinned, get them dashing along, and he'll probably move them next turn so he can observe for the Nebs. But they could still see around the corner of these houses, managed to range in, hit two of them, one failed, but he failed his firepower. So that's it for China turn 2. Next turn they'll be losing a platoon. I think we can all guess what it's going to be. Soviet turn 2. So things of note. These guys didn't unpin. These guys, I was a bit worried about the amount of fire concentrating against them, so I thought I'm not in a position to move a lot of guys in here yet. I've only got a couple into hard cover, for instance. Those heavy machine guns will chew me to bits, so I thought I'd dig in and failed. There I decided these are going to move up and get a position hold down on the hill so those panzers cannot get around my flank. It means this turn no bombardment from them, and they have to re-range in if they're going to bombard. They've only got a 20-inch direct fire range. We'll see what Brian wants to do if he wants to keep coming at me. At the moment he's outside of that range, he can take pot shots with his Panzer IV and potentially kill me. The Marders are a bit further away from being in range, and they're kind of blocked to a degree by intervening terrain. The KVs have dashed around to the flank there, and these infantry have moved up. There's 6 bases in the church now, but they really need a bit of support. They're not strong enough to do anything by themselves. So in terms of shooting, there wasn't a hell of a lot. There was some shooting from the church, but he's got on the ground, so nothing there. These guys went in range of any direct fire. The Su-122s managed to kill another base, so there's a bit of a hole developing there, which is potentially quite useful. So progress, but my neck's kind of sticking out a little bit. We'll see what happens in Brian's turn 2, where he'll be losing 1 platoon. German turn 2, the infantry unpinned, the mortars didn't. The Panzer IIIs budged over to the side into cover. The Panzer IV stayed still. I'll have to ask Brian if he wants to shoot and scoot actually. As far as shooting goes, he got 2 hits and managed to get 2 potential bails. One of them bailed, so we'll see. They might get shooed off straight away, those guys. The heavy machine guns moved over and managed to kill a couple of bases. The mortars couldn't do anything. These guys got into line of sight against the KVs, managed to get 1 hit only, and it bounced. They've stayed going to ground. There's not much prospect of them doing anything against those guys in hard cover. And the armour cars were withdrawn. Still no ambush popped yet because they're anti-tank guns. If they're going to be used against infantry, it's got to be a sort of last gasp, so Brian will be keeping them against potential developments, shall we say, in my attack, if there's any developments in my attack at all. We'll see what happens. Soviet turn 3. So, what happened there? I tried to dig these guys in again and failed. The heavy mortars did not unpin. This guy got back in, so they didn't have to do any kind of tests. So, over here, I moved the rest of this platoon over towards the church. And then there's some interesting stuff to tell you about over here, folks. So, as far as shooting goes, or as far as movement goes, start with movement, I just went for it to get through this flank with the heavy tanks. They motivated, it needed a 5+, and even made 2 5+ checks to get through the minefield. One didn't. It wasn't destroyed though, it was just bailed. And then they were in a position to flame these guys, right? And then the rest of the shooting, well, the flamers completely squiffed. 10 dice, didn't get a single 6. But these guys here managed get some hits. Didn't get any kills though. Right, but they got some hits. Then the artillery, the 122s lifted the barrage down here. Ranged in, second attempt, didn't get any kills, but got some hits, so they're pinned, heavy machine guns. The 152s ranged in over here and didn't get any hits because of rerolls. Then in the assault, so the flame tanks went in, killed one base, then had to motivate, and they're reluctant. So the lesson here, folks, is do not assault reluctant tanks with a back to a minefield, because this one was bailed out, couldn't get away. This one couldn't get far enough away with a tactical move unless it went through the minefield, and it failed the motivation to do so. So 2 tanks destroyed. But then these guys, because Brian headed off that way to get them, he had less counter-fire. I don't know if it would have made a difference. I would have just given him 1 more dice actually. But the guys came out, didn't take enough hits, didn't take any losses. On the way in, killed 2 more bases because they got a 2-up in assault, which is quite brutal. And these guys had to break off. I consolidated back into the church though, because there's a lot of MG shots, potential MG shots coming from these guys here. So this is a wee bit open, but I don't have a lot of stuff left alive over here to deal with it. And that was it for shooting and assaulting. So over to Germans for the turn 3, and they've got to lose another platoon. So we'll see what Brian wants to shift. German turn 3, they removed the mortars. There's, not a hell of a lot of, there was hard choices everywhere here, so Brian removed the mortars. These guys unpinned with a bit of help from the company command. The Marders tried to blitz and failed, so they just moved right the way over, and as you can see, finished off the last flame tank. It probably would have run away. This unit actually had to do a last stand check because there was 2 here and 2 over there, so they were out of command. There's only 3 bases, not good spirits, but they passed. So the 2 survivors legged it to rejoin them. The rest of the shooting is the 3rd turn in a row that the Nebs have done nothing. That turn they never hit the heavy mortars over there, but the last 2 turns have hit and managed to roll 3 firepowers, all of them failed. Heavy machine guns have had more luck because these guys are not dug in. They've killed another 3 bases, even with them going to ground. So they're getting really, really punished. Alright, and they're no longer under the ranged in marker for the heavies. The 152s. He fired and missed, and then shooting scooted back into cover just in case. So over to Soviet turn 4. Soviet turn 4. So the mortars finally unpinned. These infantry unpinned and moved into this house here and this one here, and some are hiding out along the side. The guys stayed put. I did think about coming out to try and conga line here. I probably should have, because as it was, all the artillery tried to range in here, only the 122s managed it, but they managed to get, well, there should have been 2 kills to be honest. Only needed a bloody, was it a 3-up? But I rolled 2 1s for firepower. Brian rolled 2 1s for his save mine. 2 of them are bailed out. So if I had decided to get stuck in there and it failed, I could have cleared that out quite easily. But I stayed on the ground. We'll see what happens. And that was about it. These guys did a couple of shots because they could, but nothing really happened. So over to the Germans, who I think have still got a platoon to remove this turn. Right, might start opening up a bit for me. We'll see what Brian wants to shift. So German turn 4. Now, Brian would like to remove the anti-tank gun ambush, but as we read the rules it says on table. I don't know if they count as being on table, so to save any arguments on it, we just said they're not on the table, so they can't be removed. So he took away the nebs. The options were the infantry and the Marders, which he didn't want to lose. They're holding the flank. The tanks, infantry platoon, heavy machine guns. Well, the Nebs have been doing nothing, the heavy machine guns have been doing a lot, and they're holding the flank of the objective. So Brian decided Nebs. Now, these guys did not get back in. Mobile armadillos have moved out of the artillery template in a position to do counterfire. The tanks have decided to move over because they just stuck out in that flank. They can do something constructive. This one came in and did something constructive straight away and killed a base of infantry. He managed to get a hit on the SU-152s, but it was a save. Heavy machine guns plastered these guys, got 7 hits, but only 2 failed saves and no successful firepowers. So it's getting a bit thin on the ground on both sides. It's getting quite interesting. We'll see if I can do anything significant in turn 5. Still plenty of game time left, so I might just want to play it cagey. Let's see. Soviet turn 5. So there was not a lot of movement in that turn. My infantry stayed on the ground because I'm in Brian's face, so to speak. And then as far as shooting goes, it was really just artillery. The mortars failed to range in, but the 122s and the 152s, the 122s here, the 152 was actually in this corner of this building, managed to destroy 2 martyrs. Didn't roll very good for his saves. He's got a 50-50 chance of passing, but he failed several. And my firepowers are good, 3s and 2s. So, a bit of progress from me that turn. Okay then, Brian's turn 5. So we forgot to put anti-tankers on the table last turn, so we could take them off this turn. So even though they weren't deployed, we've just said that we would have put them on so we could take them off to avoid the loss of anything more significant. Unfortunately, I did lose something significant. One of these guys didn't get back in, and that was from a unit last stand, which it failed, so rolled a 2. So the survivor liked it. Just leaves these guys over here. And then as far as shooting goes, well, these moved up, done a blitz and failed, unfortunately. Some shots at the 122s and missed. He stayed still and was able to get a couple of shots there and miss. So nothing really happened that turn. It's going to come down to what happens over here. So I think all eyes will turn to this section of the board now. Soviet turn 6. So my infantry picked himself up with a dash and a follow me over to here. The guys in the church fired. I've not fired the mortars yet. I'll do the mortars off camera. These guys stayed put even though they're in the danger zone now to try and rearrange in on the infantry, which they both managed to do, and the 122s killed the base. Let's see if the mortars with a 6 up, ranging, can do, and oh, second attempt. Right, so there's 3 bases that, just checking. Yep, to be able to get in the field, so 3 bases. So that's enough to get 1 hit. And it rolls a 1 for a save, and it rolls a 4 for firepower, so that's another 1 gone. So they'll be in bad spirits as well. So 2 bases of infantry left there. They're getting a bit thin on the ground. Over to Brian to see what he can do in his turn 6. In turn 6, these guys managed to stick around. They unpinned and past the last stand. The heavy machine guns moved up. 3 of them were in firing positions. These guys dashed but failed to follow me. So did he. They decided they really have to stay there. So I think it's up to me now to try and win the game the next turn or so. But I mean, you can bring these over and have a go at me even if I take that objective. So let's see what happens. Soviet turn 7. I may have forgot to mention last turn Brian did not have to remove any platoons, but he will in his next turn. So I forgot to mention as well that these guys were pinned, and believe it or not, they failed to unpin. So I've missed my chance to run down on this objective. The artillery, the mortars, sorry, they tried to range in over here, right, and didn't range in. The 122s, 152s combined managed to kill another base of infantry. The guys stayed going to ground, and Then I tried shooting and scooting, it worked with the 1-2-2s over there. So, Brian is going to have to decide what the hell they're going to lose in the way of a platoon. So, we'll come back for German turn 7. So, German turn 7, Brian removed his company command. They are, after all, a unit, so that's not going to hurt him too badly. These guys didn't unpin but stayed around. The tanks were able to take a tactical move up. Now there's not much prospect of me getting an assault in. You never know. It might be possible. And heavy machine guns, and managed to clobber them, actually killed 2 bases. The tanks didn't get any hits, just used the main guns to try and use their firepower. So, coming down to the nitty gritty, folks, can I do anything in the last 2 turns of the game? Soviet turn 8. These guys dashed and followed me, and they didn't follow me. So I'm going to try and take that objective, because I failed to unpin again over here. Otherwise I could have maybe come around here, got an assault in that way. So, I keep forgetting about those mortars because they're stuck way at the back, so they're going to have another go to bombard, and they're probably going to go for heavy machine guns, why not, again. Oh, 6, right. So let me see what they can see. They can probably get enough, put it down here, get enough to get 3 guys. 1, 2, 3, a 1, a 5 and a 1. So the guy in the middle has been hit, and he rolls a 5 for the save, so he's quite happy, but they are pinned. Might save me a turn. So, Brian has got 1, 2, 3, 4 on the table. He'll get another reserve counter this turn, so he doesn't have to take anything off. So, over to Brian for his turn. So, Brian's turn 8. They're just standing there going, don't know what's going to happen. The guy's unpinned. He stayed, and he's a move further down to help secure that objective. There was a bit of shooting into the church, but nothing in the way of successful firepower. Most of it was heavy machine gun fire. So let's see if I can do anything in the last turn. Soviet turn 9. Story of so close, but so far. So first of all, these guys moved up. These guys unpinned. They just stayed put because they weren't really going to take part in the fighting at all. And the mortars ranging over there killed a base of mortars. Over here, my guys came around to put an attack in and assaulting on the flank, but he managed to get 5 hits on me. He needed 5 and got those 5. So that was the end of that. Otherwise, I might have just forced a motivation for him to run away. That's what happened over here. Though I managed to kill 1 base in assault. These need a 6 in assault, by the way, folks. Managed to kill 1, but in both rounds, they were both single rounds of combat, 1 platoon, then the other, and he broke off both times. So I've got that objective, but I don't have this one. And the attacker wins at the start of the 9th turn, provided he can pass formation, motivation, and even if this one dies, he's still got these guys, and these guys are co-formation, so that will be enough to win the game, because even if he goes, those guys can still contest that objective. So it was very, very, very close. Went right down to the wire. Probably came down to these motivation checks at the end, but quite a difficult mission, I think, for the defender. But the attacker, this is different, folks. The attacker's got to hold 2 objectives, so you have to attack on 2 fronts. I was concentrating on 1, and it wasn't until near the end we actually figured out what the victory conditions were. But we'll go to recap now and talk about the game in a bit more detail. So there you go, folks. The Germans just managed to hold on by the skin of their teeth. It was a really enjoyable game. It was up and down for both of us. I thought victory was within my grasp with the Soviets, though to be honest, we didn't really read the mission properly and were playing towards the wrong victory conditions. Taking 2 objectives is really good in this mission. It forces you to take a different approach from normal games, both in attack and defence. For instance, if I'd understood the mission or the victory conditions, I may have put the objectives closer together so I could take one and move on to the other. It might have made the joint defence easier, but it would also allow me to perhaps use my artillery in a more saturated way, and also to take one objective and then move on to the other more easily. But it was very interesting, and Brian, he managed his resources really well, getting his tanks over, for instance, when things were getting desperate, using his heavy machine guns. And you'll see how the heavy machine guns were a very effective element in his list compared to the previous game where he didn't have any heavy machine guns. So I think they're really essential for a German grenadier company. And it was good to try the assault guns for the Soviets. Saw them with artillery and also going in for the attack, though they're not really for assaulting. These assault guns, hitting on a 6 in assault isn't going to do very much, but they scared the Germans off. So it's good to see them and introduce them to our games in version 4. So that's the end of the Kursk campaign. Quite a few games. We saw the Soviets attacking as well as the Germans, hopefully giving you a few ideas for some games you can play and some lists that you can try. Thanks for watching, folks. We're going to move on to the Bagration books early next year once the German book's out, and give you some, give you a range of games again. Emphasis on Soviet attacking, German defending, but opportunity for some German counter-attacks as well. So thanks again for watching, and please subscribe, like the video, share the video, do all the YouTube kind of things just to help us build the channel going forward.